Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. We'll get started in just a couple of minutes. Welcome. So good to see you. Okay, people are still coming in. We're going to start right at 1 o'clock to allow everyone to have a chance to join on time. So feel free to settle in. Get ready. Last hour of the 3-hour day. I think this is going to be a smaller session than our previous sessions, although a bunch of people are appearing now. Okay, we're going to start in just a moment. Just checking something real quick. Okay, I just want to see something real quick, see how many people are planning to come. Let's see. All right, so not as many as before, although I was fooled last time. I thought not too many people had registered, but we had a bunch more show up. So I guess we'll get started now. Welcome to TAIL F. This is teaching across, more people. This is Teaching Across Learning Environments, Course F, Family Partnership and Communication. My name is Susan Midlarski. This is a CTLE provided course, and we are going to record it, but that doesn't mean that you'll be recorded. If you speak, your voice might be if you speak out, but if you want to be on screen, I love that, and it makes it a lot easier for me to present because I see a real person. Thank you, Carol. So if you haven't met me before, and I recognize a bunch of names, so I think most of you have, I'm Susan Widlarski. I'm an instructional and technical consultant. I was an IT specialist at MIT for many years, and then I changed over to K-12 education. I've written curriculum in ELA and math, and I have a book coming out. Apparently, they just told me yesterday, April 16th, and it's about connected ways of teaching and learning math. Ooh, we have an avatar joining us. Okay, so I would love to hear from you. And we had kind of the same question before, so you can change it up if you've already answered this question about a success you've had today, but I'd love to hear what grade or grades you teach, what subject or subjects, and a success that you had today. And then I'm just going to pull this group because it's a new group to see what you've attended and, you know, what I can expect as far as previous experience. So welcome to you all. Let's see, I need to get the chat up. So please add in the chat, what do you teach? What grade, what subject or subjects? A success. Yes, thank you, Sejal, for the good afternoon. Good afternoon to you as well. I hope I said your name correctly. If not, you can always unmute and correct me. Okay. Anyone want to add what they do? I'll tell you a little bit about me while we're waiting. I taught for a number of years in middle school. And then I moved to New York to, oh, yay. Excellent. Oh, that's wonderful, Carolyn. That's great to hear. We're getting some responses. Fantastic. Oh, Tony, I am That's wonderful. I did a little bit of running myself, but I didn't have enough time to do a full workout, and I definitely miss it. That is a success. Fantastic. Wow, this is really good. Thank you for all your participation. So we're going to go ahead and, ooh, a family worker. Ooh, that's important. Thank you for sharing that. Grade 1 teacher. Excellent. So we're going to start a Zoom poll, and I know some of us have already answered a similar one, but it's changed now because you've attended more. So the questions are about how many you've, like what types of TAIL you've attended, and then which ones you've attended. And if this is your first, if you can put NA, that would be awesome. And TAIL is specifically teaching across learning environments. So that's, you know, in person, online, blended, all of this. Okay, excellent. I love learning about you all. It's really amazing to meet you all. Tony, do you use Socratic Seminar at all? I think I mentioned that in the last session. Okay, very cool. We've got we've got 6 people responded. I wonder if we can get a few more. 8 people, 9, excellent. So we have a few first timers. Almost half of us are first timers. So that means, no, that means that we're going to repeat some things that maybe some of us have already experienced or talked about. And muchas gracias to anyone who has their camera on, because it makes a huge difference for me in my own comfort level in interacting with you all. So we have 10 people responded. Yeah, this is very helpful. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and share the results so you can see what people said. It's less than half say it's the first time, but then more than half say they haven't attended any. So a little mismatch there, but not to worry. We'll say about half. Thank you, Mashari. I really appreciate all of you. Thanks for everybody participating. And we have more people coming in. So I'm gonna stop sharing the poll right now. And then we're gonna move on. Oop, that's old, ignore that. So norms, let's talk about norms for a minute. Hello, Jean. So being present is essential for us all to get the most out of this. This includes if we have a chance to have breakout rooms, depending on how the flow goes today. If you're present, it makes it that much better for everybody else who wants to learn from each other. Listening to all voices, of course, starting and ending on time, that's on me, and I commit to that. Taking an increased stance, taking responsibility for impact. Tony knows that I am definitely doing that in his regard, hopefully, and grounding statements in evidence. Oh, and the other thing is we're going by first names, if that's okay with you. If you'd rather not me use your first name, then please go ahead and change your name in Zoom to title and last name, and then I'll use that. Okay, but you can call me Susan. So this is course 6 in the TAIL sequence. This one is course F, Family Partnership and Communication. And we will be building somewhat off of some other TAIL courses, but it's not like you have to have attended them in order to get a lot out of this. You can go and do the other earlier parts later. So it's not like, it's not a progressive learning, it's just that they are connected in certain ways. So what are we going to do today? Well, we're going to ask the questions, how do we develop and sustain excellent family partnerships? How can we establish effective two-way communication with families? And how we're going to do this, and Tony, you're going to like this. Understand the four constants across learning environments and how they apply to family engagement, and reflect upon two-way communication and troubleshoot barriers to effective engagement with families. Let me get you the note catcher. Got to get the link. And what this will do when I paste this in the link, I hope this is working right. It will require you, sorry, I haven't pasted it yet because people are still coming in. It will require you to make a copy in your own Google Drive, and that will be yours for reference and use throughout the session and beyond. So this is what it looks like. Okay, we're going to be defining some key terms. We're going to be doing a couple of reflections, and we're going to be doing another activity. And then we have a final page with additional connections and resources. Okay. So we're going to define our key terms first, which are family engagement, two-way communication, cultural responsive and sustaining education, and equity audit. Now, family engagement refers to the systemic inclusion of families in activities and initiatives that promote student learning and wellness. Okay, so this is deliberate, this is planned, this is systemic. So and systemic means throughout, not just your classroom, but the school and the system and all of that. Two-way communication, that means we have a dialogue. It comes in the form of a conversation between both parties. An equity audit is a way to assess objectively how much equity there is in an educational environment. Is anyone here familiar with the app Equity Maps? No? Feel free to jump into the chat or unmute or whatever if you are. Equity Maps is an iPad app, which I absolutely love, which allows you to quickly and easily sort of just map out exactly what's happening in the classroom, which includes how much teacher talk there is, who is speaking, where they're speaking, how many of different genders are speaking out, you can set all different demographics. So representative populations, anything like that, seating charts, the rest of it. And at the end, it'll give you a visual of exactly what's happening. And being in the teacher role, we can be sort of oblivious for a lot of what's going on, right? So when we can get kind of a reflection like that, if you've ever videotaped yourself teaching, you see like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what happened there, whether from oneself or what's happening in the classroom. And so the equity maps allow you to have an impartial view of like, it's a non-inferential feedback. This is what happened. And I did that with a teacher once who had an imbalance, a severe imbalance of boys and girls in his classroom. And yet, even proportionally, the girls were like almost completely silent. And he didn't realize that was the case. So, that's just one example of a demographic that can find an imbalance. And this was in a math class, middle school math. So, there's all kinds of ways it can be used, and it can record the conversation as well. So like if you miss stuff, or if the teacher doesn't believe you, or you don't believe the person assessing, you can go back and listen for yourself. So I love that app. Okay. Now, hopefully many of us are familiar with CRSE. This is something, we have one for New York State. So Simone, are you responding to CRSE or to Equity Maps?
It was the Equity Maps.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, thank you. That's so cute. Little avatar is sort of human. It's great. So the CRSE framework lets us, well, it gives a framework to kind of like the standards frameworks to help us create student-centered learning, with our environments that are affirming to all our different identities and subcultures and languages and so on. So what I'd like to do is invite you, and I'll put the link to the chat again because we had a few new people join us. I'd like you to reflect upon an interaction between you and a student's family that went well. Think about what kinds of things in it, what elements or factors in it made it go well. And then afterwards, add your thoughts to the chat. So where we are right now is in the note catcher, page 2. Go ahead and note down about the interaction, what happened, what went well, and what did you use? How did you make it go well? Or what helped it work? So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to think about that and write your thoughts. During that time, I'm going to be silent. I'm going to put the activity words in the chat, and I'm going to stop sharing so it makes it easier if you want to access the text of your note catcher.
You don't sleep yet, right?
Laura, did you have a question?
No, I'm sorry.
No problem. Okay, that's been 2 minutes. Would you like to share anything in the chat? We'd love to hear from your thoughts. Okay, awesome. Carol wrote, and I'm just going to read it out in case someone isn't able to see it. And now I lost it. Hold on. Let me do this. Okay, Carol wrote, I had a parent that was worried that her son would be annoying in my class. Wow. I reassured her that he was a pleasure to have in the classroom, and also that he's 5 years old going through a huge transition from preschool to kindergarten. Oh, beautiful. He is adapting and figuring things out as well. That's wonderful. Family member was receptive to my request for their assistance. This is from Kenan Ogle-Price, to encourage a child to do and be their best. Okay. I discussed student potential and areas of strength before communicating weaknesses. Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, many of us are parents and we know how important it is to hear about the wonderful things about our little angels before the difficult ones, right? Fantastic strategy. Thank you. Okay. Great so far. Now we've had a couple of new people join us, so I'm going to paste the link in the chat again for those folks. And this is the note catcher, if you've just joined us, where we can, where it'll have you make a copy and you can add to the notes as we go through. Now, this next slide that I'm about to open up is going to introduce work by Alex Sharon Venet, which is going to inform the next section of our presentation. And I'll show you. These are the 4 constants across learning environments: connection, empowerment, flexibility, and predictability. And now I need to stop this for a moment. Oh, thank you for sharing that, Patricia. I just need to stop for a second because the latest version of this did not load and I need it to load. Hold on. Oh, and I have to fix my setup. Thank you for your patience. Okay, here we go. Okay. And this is the, yay. You know, it's interesting you mentioned Harlem. I just got approached by a group of families in Harlem to do a Saturday school for their children. So that'll start in January. Okay, so I added the citation. Thank you for your feedback, Tony. And this is linked in your copy of the slideshow that you'll get later. So you can read more directly from her work. So we're going to take the principles of her work and see how they might apply to family engagement. Okay. Ooh, 7, excellent. All right, predictability. One of the things that's important with families and predictability is creating routines and establishing them and maintaining them to allow families to plan and engage with the school. So back to school nights is one example. Regular conferences, video meetings, phone calls, texts, and community walks. You can prioritize predictability by creating consistent routines for engaging with families, making pathways for more informal connections with families, and using translation apps depending on their preferences. Now looking at the next constant, which is flexibility. All of us probably have at least one experience that was pretty negative with school, and working in schools, you know, that experience of working in schools kind of overprints our history. But for many people who did not have a good experience in schooling, whether in this country or another, they are walking in many times or interacting many times with trauma, whether that's their own schooling or it's their, you know, experiences with previous schools with their child. Or it could just be in general top-down structures, you know, dealing with authorities. So they may not want to engage with schools for those reasons. So for that, one of the things we need to do is be flexible. We need to consider their barriers. We need to diversify the ways we communicate, and we need to amplify family voices. Some of the ways this can look is maybe don't hold your parent-teacher conferences or your events in a classroom. Maybe even do it outside of school. Maybe do it on school grounds with informal community events that are non-threatening and non-academic. It could be a community walk through the community, a student-led tour that highlights the resources and challenges of the school neighborhood. Like that might actually give parents quite a bit of insight into what their students get into and are confronting in their travel to and from school. We can prioritize flexibility by, again, amplifying family voices. We can ask them for their ideas. How do they want to engage? Excuse me. We can diversify, make a number of options in how families can engage and contribute. And of course, as always, build relationships before academics. The next one is connection. Having strong relationships leads to strong outcomes. When we make it clear what our commitment to the student and family's well-being is, they begin to develop trust. And then they're more likely to respond and interact. Some teachers and educators use various polling tools. Examples, if you're doing remote, hey, Zoom tools, look at that. There's Google Forms. If you're using Google or another LMS, you can use those forms in there to do a polling tool and find out different things about your families. You can find out how their well-being is. You can do frequent check-ins that way. But at the beginning of the year, setting that up for success can be very helpful. And we're close enough to the beginning to still make it quite effective. And then when we make an explicit commitment to the students' all around well-being in every aspect, then the parents can start to trust that we really have their best interests at heart, I should say. And then copy paste that commitment to family well-being. Let me give a brief example. I've consulted in a number of DOE schools over the years, and I was kind of blown away by one particular Bronx school. Now, this was back in 2016. I don't know if the principal is still the principal, but I remember noticing that this particular school had the strongest community I had ever seen. And there was a huge emphasis in the school on community with the families. And the thought leader and act leader in this was the principal. So this, as a consultant, I had almost, whenever we made an appointment to talk, she always had something else that took precedence, which totally understandable. It kind of handicapped my work, but there were other needs. And here's an example. We finally got to sit down to talk. I think it was my last day there. And in the middle of the meeting, or not even 10 minutes in, she picks up her phone, does a little texting, and makes her excuses that she has to leave. And the reason she had to leave is because every single parent in that school had her cell phone number, her personal cell phone number. And at that moment, this is after school, there was a child who could not be picked up by a parent. The parent was late. And that child was being threatened by gang violence. So that principal had left this meeting in order to walk this child directly home and keep her safe. So that's just one example of walking the walk when it comes to family and child well-being. The next one is empowerment. In order to give the families power, or not even give it to them, but share power equally, because we are in a top-down structure and the school does hold certain power, we need to prioritize trust and mutual respect, and that will increase engagement and two-way communication. So when that is prioritized, then families will seek equity in their relationships with the school. How will we know if we succeeded? When we hear back from the families, when they communicate with us, when they're open with us, when they take part. We can do this by prioritizing trust and mutual respect. Another thing that we can do is, with the parents, create a parents' bill of rights. If you're going to do this, I suggest that you start off with some ideas of your own, because this may be a new concept to parents. They may not have any idea of what they would want in that or need in that. So you might want to come up with some ideas, but be very open to their input so you co-create it. And of course, clarifying norms for a healthy and engaged social dialogue. What is acceptable? What do you both need in order for the dialogue to stay open and continue? So if you've been with me before, you know that one thing I like to do is little quizzes. We did a poll at the beginning. We're going to do a mini quiz now. This is anonymous. It is very low stakes. And the purpose of it is to interrupt the forgetting process so that the learning that you're experiencing now, because it's a lot of stuff, so it has a better chance to stick in those neurons. Okay. And I try and do it in a way where it's not directly after what you learned, because then it's not just accessing short-term memory, it's what's called effortful retention. And the source for this approach comes from the book Make It Stick by Peter C. Brown. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and launch that. The question is, which of these approaches is part of creating flexibility for family partnerships? Back to school nights, negative past experiences, co-creating a parent bill of rights, or informal community events? Wow, this is great, Masheri. Thank you. Wow, Patricia, thank you very much. Wow. You have some, I'm reading the chat while you're answering this and seeing some wonderful responses. Thank you so much for everyone who responded. So we have 22 people here and we have 9 people participating. Let's see if we can get a few more. 10. Like I said last time, it's like watching the microwave popcorn and listening to when the pops slow down. So that's what I'm doing and waiting to end it. Okay, so far we have 13 people. Great. 14, 15. 16, great. 17, excellent. 18, wow. We're going for just about everybody here. And what I'm seeing is that certain pillars or certain elements stuck, but they didn't necessarily connect to the, the constant that we spoke about them in. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, we had 18 people. I think that's what we're going to get. And I'm going to share with you what happened. Okay, and I'm going to show you the correct answer. Okay, so I love that nobody chose negative past experiences to create flexibility. It's actually a reason to create flexibility, though, right? That's why we might need to create it, because it allows us to overcome some of those barriers. But let's take a look at where these other options come in. So if you do this with your students, if you do this mini quiz and you notice a variety of responses and you want them to kind of reflect and make the info stick, then go back through and help them revise their thinking and make the connections. So Parents' Bill of Rights is important, but that's under empowerment, right? We're empowering them with their Parent Bill of Rights. Let's see. That's not any of them. Okay. For flexibility, right, is informal community events. See that bolded word right there, a set of words. And predictability is back to school nights. So we got 3 different pillars with correct answers, and we all didn't pick the one that we don't want. Great participation. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right, let's move on. Okay, let's think about some barriers to family communication and engagement. So one of the things that we really need to create these partnerships is to consider what kinds of barriers that students or that families may experience to prevent them from fully engaging. So some of the barriers that may be included can be, and we talked about this in Tail E as well, language, literacy, technology, work schedules, and other caretaking responsibilities. One of the things that we can do is acknowledge these barriers, and that can help our two-way communication. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign it, well, I'm going to create a couple of breakout rooms, and I'd like you to, so in your note catcher, first of all, start by sharing out some of the barriers you've encountered, and then with your partners in the breakout room, discuss strategies to combat those barriers. Now, one of the barriers I've experienced with communication is that sometimes people join these and then they join a breakout room and don't really participate. And then other participants are frustrated because they really want to talk to their colleagues. They really want to learn from their colleagues. So I'm going to try and avoid that downfall, that difficulty, by making just 3 breakout rooms. Okay, and I'm going to allow you to choose a breakout room. And by choosing that breakout room, let's say that that is you agreeing to participate in the breakout room. If you can't or don't want to work on it with other people, then maybe don't join a breakout room and just work on it individually in your note catcher, okay? We're going to have about 7 or 8 minutes to work in breakout rooms. And I'm going to pop in and make sure that the breakout rooms are going okay. If you have trouble joining a breakout room, then I will help you with that as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create the breakout rooms. There's 3 of them. You should now see an invitation to choose a room. If you don't, at the bottom of your screen, the Zoom screen, you should see a little kind of square with breakout rooms underneath it, and you can choose your breakout room from there. 11 4-year-olds, Patricia, that's intense. Okay, great, we've got some people joining, excellent. Excellent, excellent. Do you want me to assign you to a room, Huguette, if I'm saying that right? Or Jean? Okay, Carol, I will assign you. Let me put you into there, and yeah. Okay, Jean and Huguette. Okay. And okay, good. Anybody else need assigning? Okay. So if you're here, please work on this in your note catcher. And I'm going to be disappearing while I visit other breakout rooms, and feel free to message. Jean, are you having trouble? Okay, I see something going on. Okay, good. Carolina or Carolina, Oh, are you? Okay. Jose, did you say something? Do you need to be put into a breakout room? I just went to visit a room. So I'm available for anyone who might want to join a breakout room. Otherwise, I hope you're having a productive time. I'm going to let the breakout rooms continue because they're happily humming along. Someone just came back. Is everything going okay? Carolina or Carolina? Okay, she's gone again. Hello, we just had someone new join us. Did you drop off and rejoin or, oh, she must have dropped off and rejoined. Okay, so everyone should be coming back to the main room in just a moment. I think room 1 is probably finished talking and room 2 and 3 seem still in the middle of a sentence, so we'll give them a moment to come back. Okay, about 30 seconds. Okay. It's a little unpleasant when everybody, you were in room 1, Tony. It's a little unpleasant when everyone is like whisked off in the middle of the sentence, so I hope they're able to finish their thought. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. So great to see you again. it seems like some of us had very productive, I think all three rooms were very productive. And some of us seem to want to keep going. But I wanted to give a little time. We have a few more things to do before we end. And if there's one person from each room who'd like to put in the chat or unmute and briefly tell us something important that you felt happened during your session, we'd love to hear it.
One other
So
thing we left off. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
it's okay. Go ahead.
No, ladies first. Go ahead.
So one of the things that I did was put the language line phone number in the chat, because one of the barriers that came up was a language sometimes being a barrier. So I just thought I would share a resource.
Can you
That's-
share that with all of us
Yeah.
now? It would be awesome. Thank you.
It's in the chat.
It is?
It says, it should say language line.
Are you sure you shared it with everyone after the breakout rooms closed? Because it might have.
Just says me to everyone on here, unless we're not able to share, but it's under language line. Let me see if,
Can you paste it again? Because it might have just gone to your breakout room at that time. Yeah, thank you. Who else wanted to share?
Yes, I'll share.
Great.
Miss Simon Carol, she mentioned that she used family group chat. That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, especially if there are norms and there's no drama.
Agreed.
Oh, thank you. Now we can see the language line phone number. That's excellent. Thank you so much.
There's also a little device that our parent coordinator has at the school that they wear around his neck called a Pocket Talk translator.
Technology.
Preston, yes.
Very cool. When I consulted in China a few months before COVID, September 2019, and I made, even though like Google was definitely not acceptable on the Chinese networks, you had to run a VPN everywhere you went in order to access it, and Google Translate was a mainstay. Just holding it out or holding it up to stuff, because there's nothing in anything I could read when I was there, so or understand. So it was really, really helpful. I can imagine that device is invaluable. Okay, now I appreciate all of your sharing. I'm going to go ahead, and we have a few minutes left and a few slides to go. So we're going to go for that. So let's look at some strategies for effective family-teacher communication. And with this, I want to just give you the source this comes from, so you can further review it if you like. So one of the keys is a strong start. So clear lines of communication and strong relationships at the beginning of the year, although really you can always make a fresh start at any time. After a break is a good time usually, because everybody's ready for a reset anyway. Flexible channels, figuring out which is the best way to contact different families. And this is something we all know, although we may not all do, which is go beyond the bad news. Regularly telling parents about the cool things, the glows about their students. Providing pathways for entry, giving different ways that parents and families can participate in the school community and the classroom, showcasing family strengths. Every family has unique things to know about, giving them a chance to highlight their talents, experience, and skills in the child's classroom, and gentle reminders, letting them know what happens. And I know that and yesterday when I did TLF, Class Dojo was mentioned as one of the ways that you can communicate regularly with parents. And this is a little suggestion. One practical thing you could do is at the beginning of the year, create a Google or other LMS form that collects great things about the families. What are their experiences? What are their talents? What are their communication and language preferences? What are their work schedules? And how comfortable are they with technology and how much technology do they have? Do I have a volunteer to read this quote out for us?
We know we have succeeded when families are not passive recipients, but active participants in their child's education.
Beautiful, Valerie. Thank you so much. Okay, one last little tiny Zoom quiz. Oh, that's wonderful. Class parents are the best, but they usually disappear after elementary school. Okay, true or false? A really hard question here. Families should only be contacted when there are disciplinary issues with the student. True or false? Let's see if you can get this one right. This could almost be an attendance question. Okay. All right, we got 80% participation. That's good enough. All right, this is what we got. Did you get it right? Yes. Excellent. Okay. So we're coming to the end of our session today. You all have been absolutely amazing. I've been so impressed and relieved at your participation in the breakout rooms. That's been a bit of a struggle, and you guys were amazing with it. So thank you so much for participating. If you want to learn more, if you want to do more, we have plenty of other courses. I'm just going to jump over. You can go through the QR codes, which are also in your note catcher. You can also go to CTLA courses and you can choose your type of learning and view the courses. We're starting over with the tail and all the other ones starting from A, I think in a week or two. And then we have all these other possibilities for you coming up, as well as asynchronous. So all of these are funded by the New York State Education Department. They're all free and they all offer a CTLE for each hour you do. Once you have completed, well, if you refer 6 DOE people, you'll get a $50 gift card. This is sort of a pyramid scheme because eventually we're going to run out of DOE people. But feel free to refer people and we'll be happy to reward you for doing so. Here's our link to the survey. Once you do that, it's going to ask you for both your DOE and your personal email because we've had some issues with DOE emails not getting the certificates through. But if you put both in, you shouldn't have any problem getting your certificate. If you do, feel free to contact admin@solveconsulting.com. You can also reach out to me for anything you need or want to talk about at my email address, which is here. And you can see all this info in your copy of the presentation, which is linked to the end of your note catcher. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions or thoughts, but we're officially over. So you can fill out your survey and then have the rest of your afternoon for whatever your plans are. And thank you again. It's been so wonderful to meet you and work with you. Thank you, Carol. Extra kudos for you for being on screen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Masheri. Thank you for your contributions. They were wonderful. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Tassian or Tashan. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Simone. You have a great day as well. And happy avataring. Thank you, Satina. Thank you, Sehal. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Carolina, Patricia and Huguette. I know it's hard, Patricia, because it is what it is. You've got all those 4-year-olds. I don't think you can. Anne. Oh, good. I'm glad you like the quizzes, Huguette. I hope that they're useful, a useful modality for you. Good. Well, you can also, don't forget, besides the screenshots, you have that whole slideshow. So you can, good. I'm glad you love the info. I'm really pleased. Thank you. You, Jose, you have a great day too. You were great too, Jean or Jean. Okay, so if there's nothing else, I'm going to end the session and I hope to see you again sometime soon. Bye for now.